Ooh, baby, we're starting off this video with a disclaimer because I messed up. So if you've been watching these videos for a while, you know that we have these very cute audio visualizers that are in our videos, and they're very cute, and Crest does a great job making them. However, what is needed for those are individual audio files of me speaking and of Crest speaking. I lost those files this week, so that's cool and chill, and we don't have those cute little visualizers this week as a result. So for that, I apologize, and yeah. So with that out of the way, I present to you episode 5. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the... Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the EDH Jank Center podcast. This is the podcast... Just kidding. This is a cheeky little show where we break down 5 janky budget or underutilized cards every other week. These cards may not be the best, most efficient, or even good, but here at the Jank Center, we believe every single card deserves a chance to shine. As always, I'm your host, Jordan.
Except your favorite card, listener. Your favorite card, we don't think deserves to shine.
Whoa.
I'm just feeling antagonistic. You can finish your intro.
I was going to say, well, let me introduce you first.
Oh,
good
yeah,
God.
right. Sorry.
And today I'm joined by my co-host, the indelible Crest Lightning.
Do you have a word written down for every episode?
I'm trying to do a thing where I introduce you with a different adjective every single episode.
I'm going to be honest, at least the last 3 episodes, I don't know what words you used.
I have them right here. I write them down
mean.
every single time. Episode 1 was incredible. Mm-hmm. Episode 2 was remarkable.
I know what those words mean.
Episode 3 was astounding. Episode number 4 is indelible, which is this one.
Hello there, folks. This is Jordan from the editing booth here, just to tell you that I made a mistake here, and this, what you're listening to, is episode 5. Episode 4 is the first ever installment of 5 Cards or Die with Chuki from Keeping It Casual.
Oh, so this is the only word I don't know what that means.
Indelible, I'll give you a definition here.
Okay.
Indelible is not able to be forgotten or removed.
Whoa.
You're unforgettable.
Undestructible is the key word.
Indestructible. I think this is the most manic intro we've had so far.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. We haven't recorded in a little bit.
Yeah, all the episodes are backlogged, so people don't know this, but we just came off. This is our first episode recording.
It's 2024, baby!
Yeah, in the new year, baby! Yeah, this is our first episode recording in the new year, and after a pretty lengthy break for the holidays, and I still probably have COVID brain because I'm recovering from COVID.
And my wife and our anniversary is this month. So it's just been, that's a wild back-to-back. Like, okay, we're done with all the holidays and then important dates. And then Jordan was like, I got COVID.
Yes, literally. I was like, 2024 is my year, bro. Immediately gets sniped with COVID. And it was crazy. It happened at work. Like the symptoms really came on at work, and I didn't even know what it was at first. I thought it was the flu, also because the flu's kind of going around as well. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it's the time for all the...
Yeah. And so it hit me, and luckily my partner, she was at the restaurant at the time and was able to drive me home, because honestly, I don't think I could have driven home in the state that I was in. And then, yeah, I've just been kind of COVID brain for the past week.
Yeah, that's kind of the worst part. I got it in 2021. And I remember the like fogginess was like kind of the hardest thing to deal with.
Yeah. No, I didn't even really know what that meant, because again, this is the first time I'd gotten it. I've been pretty lucky. I've been pretty safe, and a combination of both, I'd say, safe and luck. And I didn't really know what brain fog even meant, like what that really meant or what that felt like, until I got it. And I was like, oh, like I just can't focus on anything at all.
Right.
But that's the thing, being sick has allowed me a lot of leisure time, which has been nice because I've had to isolate. I have had no energy. So
what have you been doing? What have I been doing,
Crest? That's a great question. So many things I've watched. So many. I've been catching up on My Hero Academia, which is my favorite anime.
An anime that is very good. I also I read the manga.
Yeah, I love it so much. Because I love the X-Men.
Yeah.
And it feels to me like Japanese X-Men. And it's just so sick.
Yeah, I agree.
And I just love how My Hero gives everyone, it's almost
you could argue, the EDH Jank Center of animes.
Like in terms of like character,
It gives every
powers.
character gets a chance to shine.
Yeah, you're right though. And
Every
it's like,
character gets a little arc, a little mini.
you know, there's that one guy from Class B who literally has the power to create like expletives, like comic book.
Yes, I was laughing so hard.
Onomatopoeia.
When they said that, like his name is Comic Man or something, and I was like, what does that mean? And then they were like, he can turn onomatopoeias into like what?
Into physical things that shatter reality, and then never touch that character again. But that was really fun for that one day.
It made me laugh so much. I just got to the Class A versus Class B fights, and that's been really fun. I'm excited to see where it goes.
It's about to get insane.
I figured.
Did you finish the Class B, Class A fights?
Yes, I haven't gotten to the next episode though. So like Midoriya just discovered. Sorry, spoiler alert, anyone who hasn't watched it. But Midoriya just discovered the webs.
Yeah,
like he just communicated with one of the people who used to have One for All.
That shit's about to get. I don't know. I mean, it's a spoiler, but like, there's like 2 seasons past, right? Or 1 season.
I think so.
Already after. You're in season 5.
Yeah.
Season 6 is already out.
Just got to episode 100, I believe.
Yeah. So sorry, but yeah. So that's about to get insane.
Yeah. I also was watching a lot of like the sort of auxiliary YouTube videos that I wouldn't be watching because my schedule is typically very full. Not to flex, but I'm a very busy man.
Okay.
And I don't have time typically to like watch like the Wired videos where it's like, we got a chess expert to rank chess movie scenes.
I mean, that's not the kind of YouTube I watch, but you know.
You know what I mean?
No,
but it's like those little like sub-interest videos.
I watch 45-minute video essays on why a certain palace in fucking Legend of Zelda is like from this particular game in the newest game, and how lore is applied, how the lore is connected between games 20 years apart. So
I feel like our YouTube algorithms are so different.
Right.
Mine is always just like, it's like MTG, football highlights, acting stuff, so like that kind of shit, like movies. With actor Jack Black breaks down his career in movies, like that kind of stuff. And then there's also oh my god, I feel like I'm missing a huge one. Music production. Yeah, it's like how to get your snares sounding whatever.
It'd be really interesting for us to talk about like our top 5 favorite channels that we watch, like not MTG related.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right, because we both partake in some MTG online activities.
Indubitably.
But I think it'd be interesting to see each other's like what people are you watching regularly.
I'd like that too. That'd be cute. We're gonna bookmark that for the future. But yeah, that's probably why we're so manic. Is what is the point of all this.
I'm just excited to hear your voice.
That's literally so cute. I love that so much. I'm excited to hear your voice. And I think I'm also excited to get into the card selections for this week, baby. 2024 is a year of
something.
Better transitions.
Well, and there's some sets this year.
Ooh, baby, yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, baby.
We just started with Ravnica Remastered was the end of the year, right?
Ravnica Remastered, I thought, was...
the end of the the right?
I thought it was beginning of this year.
Is it now?
I think it's now. Or it's in previews now, I think.
Oh, okay. So it is the start. Okay.
Nice. Which means our viewers can now, or our listeners / viewers can now pinpoint when we recorded this. Approximately.
They don't know a day.
They don't know a day. We won't tell them what day.
Tell. Yeah.
That secret dies with us.
Hell yeah. What's our first card of the day, Jordan?
Well, Cress, I'm glad you asked.
I did ask.
It is Tyrite Sanctum, baby! And if you're a fan of the channel, you'll know that this is an extremely pet card of mine. I love this card so much. So this is a colorless land. The copy that we're going to be talking about today is from Commander Masters because it's the cheapest. The copies from Kaldheim, the set that it was originally printed in, are over $1. So in keeping with the spirit of the show, got to keep it under $1. So there are printings that are under $1. It taps for a colorless mana. You can also pay 2 and tap it. Target legendary creature becomes a god in addition to its other types. Put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then you can pay 4 colorless and tap it and sacrifice it. You can put an indestructible counter on target god.
I mean, this is a good card.
I love it. I will literally go to bat and say that you should put this in basically every single commander deck.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
I mean,
Every list of mine has this.
For sure. I mean, Commander, you're bound to have a lot of legendary creatures, right?
Exactly. Especially your commander. You're almost always trying to do something with your commander. Why not have a utility land that you can protect it with?
And I feel like we talk about this a lot, but Kaldheim just always brings in bangers. I feel like Kaldheim just like that set felt very like they knew what they were doing. Not that no other sets feel like that, but it really felt like Kaldheim was just like, it works in this format, it works in this, it works it was so cohesive. All the colors, thinking about all the different realms and stuff. And
oh my gosh, yes, the aesthetic of Kaldheim's design was so good,
but it worked so well mechanically as well. I think for the individual if you're talking about the color pie, and it just really felt like they understood how to make this world feel in game. And I think not every set does that to a degree, but it kind of all blends together with all the releases. But Kaldheim really stood out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the design there, the whole design team deserves to be praised for that, because it was genuinely so impressive and immersive. And they provided, like you said, some really awesome cards for a bunch of formats. Tyrite Sanctum is one of my favorite lands in the game.
Yeah.
There's like a list of like a few colorless lands that I'll always try and slot in a deck because I feel like they're almost always useful. This is one of them. It not only comes in, so first of all, it comes in untapped.
Yeah. It's a
lot of times when a land does a cool thing, you either have to pay life or it comes in tapped, you got to wait a turn, something like that. This has no downside. For a budget land, that's great.
Yeah.
It can come in and immediately tap for mana, which is what you want. It keeps you on curve, right?
Right. It trades color identity for having some crazy abilities.
Exactly. It also can buff up a creature, which is almost always useful. Great for +1/+1 counter synergies if you're doing that kind of thing. And then also at the end, and this typically does fly under the radar. I've done it multiple times in games because generally land removal's not that common. And also people have other concerns in a game of Magic. Typically they're not going to be paying attention to, can that person get Tyrite Sanctum off? Like, I need to remove their creature before that happens. Typically you can activate this no problem if you're holding up mana and, sort of playing it patiently. And yeah, this is just perfect for Commander, where you want to protect your stuff and ensure that your strat is solidified. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like the counter aspect of this card. So I like that it gets +1/+1 counters. I like that it gets an indestructible counter, because counter removal exists, but it's not,
especially more now.
Right, but it's not like I think the first and foremost type of removal you think of when you put in stuff into your deck. And, counter synergy is a thing thanks to, different types of counters. New Capenna.
Yes.
Right? Like, there's tons of... Anticoria, right? There's tons of... Right. There's sets... Right. I want to talk about this, too. There's sets that this card becomes almost like an evergreen card, right? Because of the counter synergy, because it's just pretty good keyword buffs. I think that's what I think is the most special about Kaldheim and a lot of these cards, is that they're so cohesive in like the Norse universe, in Kaldheim, the plane that they created, that is flavorful, but also each of these individual cards, everything was curated so well that you want to use these in later decks. It synergizes with other sets.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's great. Each card in this set felt like it was like made to be like an evergreen card that will go move forward in some way. And I do think that the game in general has shifted that way because of Commander as a format, but
sure,
I think that Kaldheim did both, right? So successfully.
Yeah.
And this card is a good, right? Like thinking counter synergies, not even just like your +1/+1s, you know, your standard buff multiplier decks, but like also like, okay, well, if I've got an indestructible counter on here and I'm gonna proliferate that onto something, you know, not proliferate.
You can move the counters. Yeah, because it's not just a keyword. It's not giving something indestructible.
Right.
You have a counter now that you can move around with things like the Ozolith. So if your creature with the indestructible counter ends up getting removed somehow, if you have the Ozolith out, you can move that counter onto the Ozolith and then onto another creature.
Right.
There's tons of stuff you could do because it has a counter now.
Yeah.
Also, something to note is that this is also great for not only +1/+1 counter decks, but also Voltron strategies that are just trying to get a creature in reliably and safely for damage every single turn.
Yeah.
That indestructible counter is going to be just literally
you do that right off the bat. You
be...
play it for 4, and then that's a pretty good 4 drop.
Also, something to know, a little fun fact. Obviously, you need to activate this twice, typically, to get the thing. But if your creature's like a changeling...
Already a god.
Kaldheim gods. There you go.
I mean, but you still can buff immediately. Buff Athreos gods if you want to, right? Like
also,
or any legendary creature.
Yeah.
Any commander.
Yeah. Because it's sacrificable, you can also recur this land if you got that kind of synergy in your deck. There's tons of stuff you could do. And I just wanted to highlight this card because, well, it's one of my faves. And I thought we'd start off the new year with one of my fave cards of all time.
Well, I'm glad you did. I wanted to, so something we got a lot of feedback. We've been, you know, like I said, there's been a little bit of a break between some of the episodes we've uploaded and what we've recorded and when this episode airs from the last one. So for you, it's not going to feel like that, but for us, it has been.
Sure. Yeah.
And so one of the big things is we want to highlight maybe more, since we are talking, you know, EDH Jank, right? Like we are talking commander here. Wanted to highlight some commanders for each of Jordan's picks, because I feel like I build decks a little differently than maybe Jordan does, and even the average Jank person probably builds very, let's make this mechanic work, which is weird, but like Jank from like a playing the game standpoint. But I like to just like roll with my Jank is very much like heart of the cards, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever I pull, as long as the deck is cohesive, it should be okay to just like keep playing. Yeah, it should be okay to just like keep playing it no matter what the card is. Yeah. So I try to build very like flavorful, you know, I kind of don't really think about mechanics right off the bat. So I wanted to highlight a commander for each of these cards. And for Tyrite Sanctum, I had to look up tons of stuff about Kaldheim. So I'm not like the most well-versed in, I'm not an expert on MTG lore. There are real MTG lore experts that you can go watch their videos on YouTube and then come back and tell me if I'm wrong about anything. I am somebody who uses the fandom, the wikis, the Scryfall as a tool to build decks. So my knowledge is not like the best, but I'm doing my best.
That's okay. And that's all that counts, baby.
Tyrite Sanctum, I could not find where this is in Kaldheim.
Really?
Right. And so is it in the tree? So Tyrite is like the magic that is like an ore or magic that is derived from the world tree.
Okay.
That things are imbued with. Like there's the Tyrite sword, which is an enchantment.
Yep.
And so is this a sanctum in the world tree? Because we know where that is.
Right.
But which is on I believe one of the 10 worlds. It's on I think you're right. Yeah, Istfel. Because that's where the base of the world tree is. So, but I don't know. It could be literally anywhere. If they have, like, there's a Valkyrie place. There's a, like a dark elf place. There's a dwarf place. Like any of these, there's the human place. Any of these people could have like gotten Tyrite and created their own sanctum as like a worship to the world tree. Yeah. Or this is like in the tree itself. I don't know. Somebody will know the answer to that, and please tell me, because I could not figure it out. Yeah. But that being said, my lore pick for commander is, I think, Essica, God of the Tree, which is already a god, right? Is a god from Kaldheim, legendary creature god, vigilance, tap, add mana of any color. So look at that. You got 2 mana on the board. Nice. Other legendary creatures you control have vigilance and tap for a mana of any color. So this is really good. And it's also one of the gods that's you could cast as an enchantment, one of each color. at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that's just good. I think this is a great commander card. You use that first ability first, and then you pay the two tax on your legendary creature if you want that later game. I think this works so well because you say it can go in like any deck.
Yeah.
And so what about building a rainbow deck, right? You put as many legendary creatures as you want in there. So like the idea for this theme deck would be a legendary a Kaldheim based legendary,
so like all the gods,
all the legendary creatures from all the different worlds of Kaldheim.
I love that.
All
actually.
the 10 worlds, or the based off the 9 realms, and just having just this like mix of a rainbow deck, but that's like legendary creature themed. And I think having indestructible counters and +1/+1 counters with this, you're not really worried about mana. Could just make for interesting games, like a chaotic, fun
100%
game, and that's the kind of game I like to play.
I love that. And thank you for that beautiful selection. That was great. I also think, just generally speaking, Vorel the Hulklade,
your favorite.
Any +1/+1 counter deck really that wants to go vertical specifically.
Yeah.
And Voltron decks. So basically anything that's a Voltron build. You could do Rafika the Meanie. You could do Evra Halcyon Witness. You could do Ruhan of the Fumori. I mean, there's tons of ways you could take this, tons of places you could put this in.
It could just slot in, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
you should just slot this in.
Literally any deck. Unless
your deck doesn't have a ton of legendary creatures in it. So like that's the only.
Or like you somehow want your commander to like die a lot, which
some people do.
Could also be valid, but I think it's generally useful in pretty much everything. But yeah, let's move on to the next card of the day.
Cards.
And it's gonna be Rout. 3 white sorcery. This one is from Conspiracy. It says you may cast Rout anytime you could cast an instant. If you pay this is ugly text. We're gonna do the Oracle text. You may cast Rout as though it had flash if you pay 2 more to cast it. So if you pay 7 to cast, you can be cast as an instant. It says destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated.
That's pretty good.
So this is just this is a board wipe, and there's a reason I wanted to talk about it on the pod.
We play with board wipes.
Well, we're gonna get to that. This is the thing. This is a board wipe. Typically, now we are gonna. I do want to talk about like our opinions on board wipes and things, because I do believe it's something that should be out there in the discourse, in the dialogue of the greater MTG universe. But this is something that I would actually consider running. I don't run many board wipes personally in my decks. This is something that's sort of relatively new for me, but I've developed a kind of philosophy around the game, and board wipes just aren't necessarily part of it a lot of the time. This is something I would consider running because of its utility, because I can either cast it on my turn for cheap, cast it on another person's turn if the situation requires it. I love situational cards like that.
Versatility. Your favorite.
Exactly. The mana cost is what makes this janky, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Like, there are cheaper board wipes and just objectively, quote unquote, better board wipes that exist. But the utility and versatility make this a favorite inclusion of mine if I'm going to be going to a board wipe for something. There's a few other cards that I really like as well, but instant speed can be so valuable. This can come in clutch if someone thinks you're dead to rights and swings out at you, and they think that you have nothing and you have 7 mana open. Pow! You've just reset the game and potentially given yourself a way out of the situation that you were previously in.
Right.
But yeah, I just wanted to talk about board wipes a little bit because I don't know how you feel about them, but
so I just had a big long spiel about making flavor decks. I don't really care if you have a board wipe in your deck if it's part of like a cool deck, right? Like if you're playing a deck that this like feels like they would use, I think that's fine on the board. The card artwork right now is Elish Norn. If I know you're playing a deck with Elish Norn as a commander, I'm going to be like, okay, that makes sense for you to run in it. And it doesn't really, because if I've already consented to that on rule 0, I know that's the deck person is playing. I kind of know what I'm getting myself into,
right?
So I don't really care all that much as long as it's you're not building just a deck that punishes, right? Like, and if you are, at least make it flavorful. right? Like, but also if you're playing
Sure.
a low powered deck and you need a board wipe to stay in the game with some other people, I think that's fine too.
Definitely.
You know, if you're playing like a really weird deck and you haven't been able to pop off yet, and this is like a short little reset so that you get to do your thing on the table, I'm fine with that. I don't really mind removal at all. I like to play blue.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, sure.
I play with a lot of things that affect the board state, so it doesn't really matter to me. What I don't like is I don't like when people board wipe early, and I don't like when people, I guess if you're gonna reset the game, if it's not flavorful, please let this be your like win con. Like,
Right.
you know, don't reset the game without having cards to play.
Sure.
So we're all just sitting for another 3 turns before anybody's engine can get started.
Do you personally run a lot of board wipes? How many do you think you run in your typical builds?
So I probably run like 1 or 2 in a deck if it's a deck that board wipes make sense for. Like I have an Ajani cat deck that has no real win con other than play strong creatures and make those creatures strong. So when people keep killing my creatures or they have too many creatures on the board, it's not like a huge token deck or anything like that. You know, it's pretty slow. So I put a board wipe in that to sort of make sure anybody running large tokens, they can't just like overwhelm my like 5 cats that are like just hanging out. You know, so but I use it as like, it's got to feel cohesive. You can't just put a board wipe in it because it's like, oh, I got my counters, I got my removal, I've got my board wipes. No, I don't like building decks like that.
Yeah.
It's got to make sense with what you're building.
Yeah, I agree. I think personally, it's a bit of a philosophy for me to always encourage people playing their stuff. And I'd much rather have a loss in a game of Commander than win after 5 hours and it's the only game we've played that night.
Sure.
And board wipes, because I remember a specific game with us on Spell Table with our friends where there was like 5 board wipes in the game. And it was, and I'm sure everyone there's plenty of people who've been in this situation too, who can relate. It's torture.
Yeah. I mean, it can be.
Having to rebuild a 5th time is torture. That is literally awful. And I would so much rather have a fun game where we all get to do our stuff, and destroying everything on the board just isn't conducive to that philosophy.
Well, and
so I prefer single target removal over mass board wipes. And if you are going to run a board wipe, I personally think it should be an asymmetrical board wipe to make it essentially a win con. So if you have an army on board and you wipe everyone else's board and swing out for the win, there you go. That is a bit more justifiable to me to include in a deck than something like Rout multiple times.
Yeah, right.
I would rather include something like single target removal or something else that benefits my strategy.
Right.
Than
or
board
something
wipes.
like, you know, destroy all artifacts or something. Something that's like very situational that like you don't necessarily need to use.
Or that you'll benefit off of. There are tons of cards that will benefit off of artifacts hitting the graveyard.
Right.
And creatures hitting the graveyard. So if it's strategic, I get it. But personally, it's 1 max.
Right.
In a deck for me, personally.
I think 1 or 2 is fine. I also think that if you're playing board wipes, you know how expensive they are. Make them expensive. Yeah. Make them expensive to play. You don't need to play that super quick. If you have a board wipe, it should be your end game card, right? We're just talking about this. I kind of don't like that this card is only 5, but I like that you can play it with flash for 2, so you're probably going to hold on to it and play with flash when you have, a better scenario, a specific scenario in mind.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I also, if you're playing an underpowered deck and you need the board wipes, it doesn't really bother me that much. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's situational, but I'm not going to go in and be like, I'm not going to go into every rule 0 and be like, hey, how many board wipes do you have in your deck? I don't care that much about board wipes.
Same.
I think that it is torture to rebuild 5 times, but I also think if you're playing in a group that's managed to pull off the top of their deck their 1 card of 99 that's a board wipe, and all 4 people have done that, I think that's pretty funny. I guess so.
That is pretty funny. It definitely is pretty funny.
That's
in
a
hindsight.
Unique, one of a kind experience, but also it's a really long one. So I get it.
It's the same reason why I'll play single target removal and I'll play that kind of stuff. And I'll play maybe some pillow forting because I do run a lot of forced combat decks, which you need that stuff. I won't do stacks and I won't do multiple board wipes or things like that because I would rather encourage the board to be full and games to be over and multiple games to be had in a night than one super long game, which can be fun. Those can be also very fun. But in terms of the style of game that I want to encourage and play in, I think my philosophy would be, I'm only running one of these.
Like
in a
those
deck
can
max.
be fun, but don't, if you're going to take a long time to rebuild your own fort, don't put a board wipe in your own deck, right? Like if you're somebody that a board wipe's going to affect, don't make that happen.
Right.
to take your next 4 turns.
Although I have been in games where it's like, okay, does anyone have a board wipe? Please, does anyone have a board wipe?
Right.
And no one does.
Well,
and you're like,
sometimes it's what's needed, right? If single target doesn't remove, an indestructible creature or a creature that is, I guess exile can, but a creature that is protection from a specific color, right?
But see, at that point, I'd rather just lose the game and get another game in than, wish there was a board wipe. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I think I would just rather.
I'm not about ending things quickly just for the sake of getting another game in where I can shine. I'm more of I want to see things through till the end kind of player.
Fair enough.
But I do think that, again, I think there's ways that this can get salty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I've played decks where they've somehow maneuvered a way to where the board wipe isn't going to affect them at all. And it's just so you're just not letting us do anything to your board state, even though your board state can't kill us. So you're just getting rid of our board state and continuing to build your board state.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's where it's you didn't need to do that.
If you're board wiping your opponents, you should be able to win.
Exactly.
It should be a win con.
Unless somebody else
if it's asymmetrical like that.
Responds with something that messes up your win con. And then it's okay, if this lasts another hour or so, it's at least that was an exciting moment we watched.
Sure.
Or, 5 hours.
It would be really good to have on the field if you cast Rout.
What?
A creature with indestructible counter on it.
Oh, yeah.
From Tyrite Sanctum, baby.
Do you want to hear my commander pick for this card?
Please do.
So all of Conspiracy moving forward, this card's card art has Elish Norn on the front. So my brain was not what you're thinking. Let's not build an Elish Norn deck, but mono white Phyrexians is a kind of a vibe.
Yeah, especially after the recent sets, for sure. Absolutely.
And one that kind of works with a board wipe in particular that I think is really interesting is Skrelv, Defector Might.
Oh my god.
It's a legendary artifact creature, Phyrexian Might with Toxic 1. Players dealt combat damage by this creature also get a poison counter. Skrelv, Defector Might can't block.
Great. Yeah, love it.
1 Phyrexian white mana, tap, choose a color, another target creature you control gains Toxic 1 and Hexproof from that color until end of the turn. It can't be blocked by creatures of that color this turn. Phyrexian white can be paid with either 1 white or 2 life. I think this is a fun pick. I think this is a crazy card to build off of an entire
people are doing it though.
An entire white Phyrexian theme deck featuring this as your commander. Sure, if you put Rout in this deck, sure. At least you can play, if you've only lost Skrelv once, it's only 3 more mana to bring Skrelv out. If you've already paid 7 mana for your board wipe, 3 mana is not.
That's
you
true.
can get your commander back on the board.
Although,
it can hit for some poison right afterwards. So if you've already been hitting small poison counters throughout the game.
I was gonna say, if you're going that route, if you're going infect or poison counters in mono white with Skrelv as the general, a board wipe is definitely useful in that deck because first of all, people are gonna be targeting you, but second of all, keeping the board clear while you proliferate stuff or that's a decent strategy. So I love that home.
I think
that's
that
great.
danger salt for playing with poison, proliferate, trying to make poison counters just fast can be not fun for people. So I kind of like this idea of a mono white you're getting pretty strong while you're just dealing little bits of poison. It's like a slow drain poison, which I think is like a fun at the table where people are like, okay, I've got 5 poison counters, but like, what is that? Like, you don't know when they're going to play that end game card, right? You have that on your sleeve. So I think playing a slow, but like also you're pillowing up your life so that, you know, they're
I love your little, like, the viewers can't see it, but whenever you're saying slow, you're doing like a little jig, which I love. Yeah. It was geeking me out. Sorry, I had to point that out.
So, I mean, I think that would be a fun, that's just an idea. You know.
I love it. Listen, I'm sure our viewers can come up with other cool ideas. And Skrelv is just a little guy.
He's so
just
cute,
like me.
Minus the being a Phyrexian artifact.
Yeah, and
monster.
like definitely like feasting on
somebody's arms,
flesh and stuff. Anyways, someone's little fingies. Actually, I think those are fingies.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next card, shall we?
Yeah.
All right, the next card of the day. This might be my favorite card in the list, just in terms of I'd never seen it before, and it's so interesting to me.
It's a vibe.
This is Blind Fury, 2 red instant from Mirage, and I'm going to read the Oracle text here because it's an older card. All creatures lose trample until end of turn. If a creature would deal combat damage to a creature this turn, it deals double that damage to that creature instead. Dude, I absolutely mess with this card. I think this is such a fun little combat trick, and I had never seen it before. We have a Janky Gems channel in the Discord, and someone in the Discord, you know, people just be posting their finds, like cool cards that they find, and I saw this one and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually so fun and cool. There's lots of really fun red combat tricky cards, and this is especially in the older sets, and this one's really fun. It erases trample. It literally just, it's almost a fog in that if you have blockers up, but someone casts like an Overwhelming Stampede or a Crater Hoof Behemoth, something that's like, you know, the classic win con, give everything trample and +X and just sort of swing out. The main thing typically that kills you is the trample.
Right.
Typically, unless you have nothing on your board, in which case you're just you're done. But if you have blockers up, all of a sudden you cast Blind Fury, and this is just like a regular combat step. You could just chump block and live to see another day, which I loved that. Additionally, the damage doubling is just the icing on the cake.
You love your versatility. You're picking your gems based off of how versatile they are.
Yeah.
I see you, Jordan, and I see this
Thank
card.
You very much. I appreciate that. And I just love it in token decks specifically. I think would be great. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you can use this, you know, Krenko decks, love this. And that's running mono red tokens could be fun. Anything with red in it that's running tokens could be fun. And that's kind of all she wrote about this card. I just wanted to point it out. I thought it was a really fun little janky guy.
It's very janky. This card sent me down a rabbit hole, Jordan.
What do you mean?
A deck I want to build now. So the flavor text of this card says, "Tell me, have you ever sung the Song of Blood?" Which is, and then it's quoted from a character named Paraj of Urborg.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
Anything about Paraj, like story-wise, but I looked up. It's a card.
Sure.
It's a mono black legend creature, and it's a panther of Urborg. So Urborg, right, is Yawgmoth's lair or whatever on Dominaria. The Panthers of Urborg are like Night Stalkers, which is a thing on Dominaria, but they're all cats. They're all panthers. They're like a specific, and I don't know very much about it, but I'm like, what about red-black cat deck? That seems wild. So I looked for any cats that were red and black, and there were only 2 that I could come across that were interesting enough. One is Mahadi, Emporium Master.
Yes. The one that's relatively recently printed. Yeah,
which is from Baldur's Gate. It is a cat devil. Very fun. At the beginning of your end step, create a treasure token for each creature that died this turn. So, I mean, this could be in response to you using that, losing all of your token creatures or all of your creatures on the board, defending all of those tramplers, right? That are no longer tramplers.
Yeah.
you could then get that many treasure tokens off of this commander, which is cool. But he's also from Baldur's Gate and a devil and doesn't like vibe with Dominaria all that much to me.
Sure.
So the other pick could be fun. And you don't have to partner it with Trin if you don't want to, but Sylvar, Devourer of the Free.
Oh, yes.
Menace.
I actually have this card in my collection.
It's 3 black and a red. You could partner with Trin, Champion of Freedom, but in this case, we'd be doing mono black and red, or not mono black and red, cat themed, but it's a cat nightmare. So
sure,
you could put in some humans and stuff as like fodder for your cats, I guess. Right? It's Dominaria. It's Urborg. Menace.
Yeah.
Sacrifice a human, put a +1/+1 counter, and Sylvar, Devourer of the Free. It gains indestructible until the end of turn.
Yeah.
So there's some fun
such
things
a sick card
you can do.
I love this card a lot.
So those are the things I would do because there aren't any others that are just red and black. There are like you could do Lord Windgrace, who is literally a panther and has I think it's black, red, green planeswalker, and then you could also do there's like a cat dragon.
A Lord Windgrace cat deck would be crazy, especially because a lot of cats are in white and you would just be like hard pressed, I feel like, to find a lot of cats.
Well, I was thinking mono, not mono, but red and black specifically. I can think of a few, but I don't know how many there are. You'd have to really dig deep if you wanted to make that work.
Little Scryfall search could do it.
Yeah.
Can anyone find how many cats could be included in a Rakdos cat deck? Put it in the comments.
And should we bring back panthers in general? I mean, it can be labeled as cat in the Oracle text, but should we bring back
literal panthers? That would be sick.
Like panther.
I'm a fan of that.
Yeah,
I'm into it. I'm fully into that.
Some cats in a different color wheel, if you will.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're moving on to my last selection of the day.
Ooh, it better be a good one.
I think it is a very good one.
Okay.
Today, my last selection is Blood Mist. This is 3 and a red enchantment. This is from Eldritch Moon. It says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn.
That's pretty good.
It is pretty decent.
And you just get to choose one. Interesting. And it could be a different one.
So this is like the crazy older cousin of that one card, Duelist's Heritage.
Mm-hmm. Hello, everyone. Jordan from the editing booth again here, and just realizing now that I forgot to read the card. So here it is. Duelist Heritage is 2 and a white enchantment. It says whenever one or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike until end of turn.
This is obviously one-sided, and it's in red and not white, but in aggressive decks, this does work.
You don't need it to be on anybody else's turn when you're playing aggressive.
If I'm doing combat stuff, I'm always considering this card because double strike is literally always good. I will never not want double strike.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this is something that's static. It happens every turn, so it's giving you value after you cast it for turns on end. And if you're really pushing the issue, maybe someone removes this. But again, I think it's something that will, generally speaking, fly under the radar a lot of the time, especially in a 4-person game of Commander.
Agreed.
And yeah, this is a good little guy, dude. It works in +1/+1 counter decks, works in Voltron decks. It works in like power or damage doubling stuff like combat tricky decks. Red is great at those things. So if you're running a red sort of aggressive deck, I'd say consider putting this card in there. My selection, like for the commander that I would love this to be in, is Ruhan of the Fumori. So Ruhan of the Fumori is 1 red, white, blue legendary creature giant warrior. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random. Ruhan of the Fumori attacks that player this combat
you like
if able.
That no personnel. I'm just beating up a player.
Someone random, and it's a 4-drop 7/7, which is crazy. You can play this and give it double strike, and it's dealing potentially 14 of the 21 commander damage required to kill a player. This can greatly accelerate your game, especially if you have a way to make it unblockable, which in blue there are plenty of, by the way. Yeah, I just think this is super solid. That's my selection for the commander. It can go in, but it can go in a ton of other builds. I'd love to see anyone's list. If you guys have a list with Blood Mist in it, please hop in the Discord and send it my way. I'd love to check it out.
out.
So this card inspired me to look for, I'd like to build a mono red Innistrad deck, but that's impossible because there are no legendary creatures that are mono red in Innistrad. So then
Really?
I know. And so I
Really?
have open on Scryfall right now. I'm looking through cards because then my other thought was like, oh, that Avacyn the Purifier card is so cool because it turns from white to red, but there's no
Right.
red color identity on it. So it's technically mono white for commander, unless that's something you play with, if it's red white for who, because the card when you flip it is red, but there's no red mana anywhere on the card.
Interesting.
And I guess I don't know what works, like Audric Blood Cursed. Trying to find somebody. You could do any Olivia card, but Olivia doesn't really vibe. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think Audric Blood Cursed. There isn't or Gisela Blade of Gold Knight maybe, but there's no Nahiri that is a legendary creature. Nahiri is only a planeswalker. Yeah, so Audric Blood Cursed is really the Innistrad character. You could build sort of like an anger themed red.
Although Gisela
red,
feels
white.
like a good choice though too.
Agreed. That it's a good
For combat stuff, like Gisela's pretty solid. Anyways,
double is that quadruple
Yeah.
damage?
double strike plus dealing double damage.
So just create
be
a
quadruple
proxy.
damage, I think,
Create
yeah.
a proxy of Gisela as Avacyn, the Purifier, and then any sort of, you can call it Avacyn, whatever.
Right.
And then make like an anger themed red white deck. I think
That would be kind of sick though.
would be
that
a
would be
vibe.
sick.
with only cards featured on the plane of Innistrad.
I mess with that idea, and also people just love that aesthetic.
Yeah,
so I feel like
100%.
Innistrad, I don't know the exact numbers on this, but out of all the flavorful decks that exist, I feel like Innistrad would have the top spot in terms of like what people are building.
Right.
Because they just love that. People love that eldritch horror aesthetic, and I feel like I could see that happening very easily. I'm sniffing around. It smells like it's that time of the day.
Oh.
I think you guys kind of ready for the okay. Are you guys ready for Cress's Chaos Pick of the Day?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Those noises were unhinged.
I hope you're
love it.
ready, Jordan. I've conjured up a special selection for you. I hope you're ready.
Really?
Well, okay, so I'm sitting here. We just redid my office, and now it's no
That's
longer
true.
my office. It's my wife and I's office. We took my office, turned it into the bedroom, which was a smaller space in our apartment, and now what used to be the bedroom is now a huge office space for the two of us. This is important context because
Yes,
now
okay.
when I work and do research for the podcast, my wife is working and sitting right next to me, which is great.
I love that. I love that.
And so
cute.
she has a favorite card I will not disclose because we might talk about it
Okay, true.
at a later
Cool.
time on a later episode.
Yeah.
But she was like, look up something like that. And I was already looking for cards. I was looking specifically through black enchantment cards because I thought that would be an interesting vibe for under $1. And what I landed on, Jordan, are you ready?
Yes, I am
For
ready.
my chaos pick is Erebos' Emissary.
Erebos is what?
It's 3 and a black enchantment creature snake. It's got bestow, 5 and a black. If you cast this card for its bestow
Whoa.
cost, it's an aura spell with enchant creature. It becomes a creature again if it's not attached to a creature. Discard a creature card. Erebos' Emissary gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. If Erebos' Emissary is an aura, enchanted creature gets +2/+2 until the end of turn instead. Next line, enchanted creature gets +3/+3.
Oh.
Right.
Yo, that is so sick.
So this card is cool. Theros is
What?
cool. We were talking about Kaldheim, but Theros is also
Yeah.
all the Amonkhet, all of the when they do like big pantheon pantheon sets. I'm like,
Yes.
I want some of that.
100% agreed. And as a Greek mythology, I was like a big Greek mythology nerd as well. I don't know about you, but like I had like the books about like the Greek gods, and my parents were always like buying me stuff like that as a kid, and I was very into that stuff. And Theros is just a great little playground for that sort of child in me.
Yeah,
Because all the art and art direction is just like geared towards that kind of stuff. It's so cool.
100%.
I love this card.
Yeah.
By the way, this is I think because there's a ton of these kinds of cards, like the Bestow, like from the old Theros
enchantment
sets.
play
Like,
is huge in Theros, and you know,
Yeah.
so we could talk about that. I love it. I love building enchantment based Theros decks in particular. They're very fun.
I'm gonna want to build a deck around this. This is very cool. So if I'm getting this right, it's an enchantment. You can cast it as a creature, but you can also cast it as an aura spell with its bestow cost, and it would give the whatever enchanted creature +3/+3.
Right.
Additionally, at instant speed, you could activate this ability to discard a creature card from your hand and pump whatever, either the creature itself, Erebos' Emissary, or the creature it's enchanted to.
So you have 3 creatures in your hand that you do not care about. It's end game. You've put this on your commander, +3/3 on your commander. You've discarded 3 cards from your hand. You've given it another +6. So you've given it +9 to swing in for some commander damage, right? Like, if you know that, it's so cool.
I love it a lot. I think that's very sick.
It is 8
and
cents.
Also, it's 8 cents. And what I'm thinking of is in decks, especially that want to be discarding creatures and recurring them and things like that. This is a great way to pitch a ton of creatures all at once into the graveyard. It's also a great way to, like, you could loop this and like maybe somehow jankily like infinitely buff a creature,
right?
If you have like the tools
and you got the
stuff,
brain for doing stuff like that.
Yeah, in like a graveyard based, maybe like Voltron something. I don't know. This is a very interesting card. It's got a lot of my gears turning, and thank you for this selection. You're welcome. This is great. I had no idea this existed. This is sick.
Commander highlight for this card is Onyxia.
Onyxia.
That makes sense.
I think.
Yeah. Onyxia, Hand of Erebos.
Yes.
So
flavorful.
2 white, black, green, legendary enchantment creature, demigod. She's got Menace. Other enchantment creatures you control have Menace. Whenever Onyxia enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 1 target non-aura creature. Exile up to 1 target non-aura enchantment card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 3/3 black zombie creature in addition to its other types. So it also is an enchantment creature. Other enchantment creatures. So not only does the snake get a buff as well if you just play it as a creature, but +5 onto Onyxia right away is pretty insane.
Would be nuts.
Yeah. Or +3 even. 7 damage right away is pretty crazy.
And also, she's got an ability that cares about the graveyard, which cares about specifically, well, anything non-aura related. But if you're discarding enchantment creatures into the yard, you can reanimate them as token copies with her. Like, this is great. Excellent selection.
Thank you.
Excellent selection.
Thank you.
And that kind of brings us into the Discord poll of the week, baby. So for those of you who don't know, every single episode we have a segment where we poll the people in our Discord, which is free to join, by the way. You can join in the description of the show notes or the bios of any of our social media accounts. And in there, we do lots of amazing stuff. But one of the things we do is every week we have a poll and we poll all of our Discord members about an MTG related question. And then we sort of gather the stats and talk about it on the podcast and sort of break it down and analyze it. And it's a lot of fun. So this week we asked people, which set are you most excited for in 2024? Murders at Karlov Manor, Fallout Universes Beyond, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, Modern Horizons 3, Assassin's Creed, another Universes Beyond release, Bloomborough, and Duskmorn House of Horror. And unfortunately, I forgot to add Ravnica Remastered to that list.
So if that was your favorite, we're sorry.
Yeah, apologies to the reprint fans out there, but yeah, we're gonna go off those the stats here, and Cress has kind of compiled all the stats into one.
Yeah, so we
little beautiful pie chart here. So let's talk about it.
Number 1 by like a lot of viewers. People are really excited for Bloomborough. That's sitting at 30.93% of our votes.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
30% of votes. Yeah, almost 31.
That is, well, here's the thing. I was going to say I'm surprised by that, but the more I think about it, the more I realize its appeal because one, it's
bunch of little
very
guys.
Reminiscent. Yeah, it's a bunch of cute, it's going to be like cute anthropomorphic like animals.
Yeah.
There's a lot of buzz. That's not a pun. There's been a lot of buzz about on the internet of like, hopefully they're going to introduce some kind of like Selesnya coded bee people, like bumblebee people.
What? Oh man, I don't even know what to think about that.
I think that's great.
No, it's
I
fun.
would love that.
I will make a buzz deck. I will.
Exactly. But I think also people just love cute stuff.
Little guys.
And Bloomburrow's got little guys,
Hey,
just like me.
Pokemon's my favorite franchise of all time. Sorry, Magic the Gathering. So I get it. I like my little guys.
That's valid, honestly, and I think maybe that could play into people's like preferences in this poll. Also, at least the bits of artwork that we've received so far from Bloomborough indicate that it's very reminiscent of like Redwall, and I was a huge fan of the Redwall books growing up. They're about basically like little guys,
okay,
who fight wars and like have feasts, and like it's all like little mice and moles and rabbits and badgers, and they all like
who
can
partake
speak
in
English
like
and
imperialism
are warriors and stuff. I remember it being a lot warmer and kinder than that. Like, there's also lots of like little dinners and like feasts that they have, and like
so
it's
they're
very
Vikings.
Yes, no.
Okay. Not that Vikings were the only groups of people who had feasts.
No. I think generally speaking, this makes sense the more I think about it. That's all I'm saying. There's lots of connections to animals that we as humans have.
I like little guys.
A plane that's focused on that, people are gonna freak out
I
over.
like seeing a little gerbil in a suit of armor.
A little tunic,
like
who doesn't?
Yeah, I get it. No, that's a vibe. Yeah. I played Tunic with a little fox dressed up as Link. It's a Zelda. It's an indie game based heavily off of the original Zelda.
It's called Tunic.
It's called Tunic. It's very good, and he plays a little fox.
We've been talking about, this is off topic, but we've been talking about maybe getting into some Zelda for me. I think I might get Breath of the Wild.
You should.
And
that game is good. It's very good. Also, I think for people who don't play a lot of video games, like I think it's really accessible.
Well, that's me.
Because and some people might disagree with this, but I think it's accessible in the way that it teaches you that you can kind of do whatever you want, as opposed to a game like I'm playing Baldur's Gate with my wife right now, and that game you can also do whatever you want, but it is not easily accessible. It is not. It is a game, especially since we play it on a console, so we're playing with controllers. So it's oh nice. It's like not
interesting.
It's too much sometimes.
Kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, whereas Zelda is like, okay, yeah, so you got some arrows, you could kill those guys with some arrows, or if you got a stick, you could go hit those guys with a stick, or you could sneak around those guys, not kill them at all, or you could blow them up with a bomb.
Speaking of bombs, that's a great segue into talk about the rest of the list.
You're right.
What else is on the rest of the list? People will understand once we talk about it.
The next one after Bloomborough is sitting at 21.65%, and I think this is what you were leading up to.
Yeah.
It's Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which we have talked about in a previous episode.
Oh my gosh. Which, unfortunately, the commenters on the video told us that Heavy Rock Cutter will not be making a return. They make those italicized keywords only for certain sets.
We got some awesome fan art in the Discord, though.
We did get an amazing proxy from one of the mods, Little Red Panda.
Yeah.
She made us a Drillbur proxy. Exactly what we talked about.
If Little Red Panda's cool with it, I'll see if we can put it in the video.
Oh my god, yes.
Put it up on the video.
Yeah, that would be incredible, please.
Yeah, this was also your pick.
It was my pick. I mean, I was a huge fan of New Capenna's design.
Yeah.
And anything that's sort of I'm interested in how they take Thunder Junction. I'm very interested to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm mostly hype about it because if they can do gangsters so well, I'm sure they can do cowboys so well. And you know, I'm an actor. I love movies. I do enjoy like cowboy and western aesthetic, and to see my favorite game sort of dive into that realm and space is very, very cool. I'm very excited.
It's a little weird to like be, well in it's 2024, like well into the 21st century, to where the 20th century can be like feel like fantasy.
Used as a fantasy,
right?
Or it's like a nostalgic thing,
1920s New Capenna, and then you got like the early 1900s with like the American Railway. So like
exactly,
it's a little
Outlaws.
Yeah, it's a little.
Although I think Outlaws were a bit before that too. I think they were like also in the 1800s now.
All the 19th century, 20th century, but still, the same applies.
Sure.
That's like not that long ago when you like think of it in the grand scheme of things. But we're like that was long. That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
but it's long enough for that to be our like a fantasy realm, right? In the way that we view medieval times as like, which also wasn't like that long ago.
Exactly. I didn't realize that Thunder Junction was above the next one. That's why I made the bomb joke, because it's Fallout.
Yeah, number 3 is Fallout, sitting at 19%. So yeah, like
I was not expecting that
about
at all,
even
by
with
the way.
Thunder Junction. Look, I played the Fallout games. I'm very excited for that set.
Which makes sense. I'm sure. I guess it's a larger subset of people who are into the games and think that it's going to be good for Magic and stuff.
Again,
too.
it's that like a neo 1950s aesthetic is so cool with like the like the rounded metal electronics, but like everything's nuclear powered. Like this universe, like I think figured out nuclear fusion. So like there's like weird, like things are battery powered, and it's like post-apocalypse right after the nuclear war. But
there's also been plenty of
there's like monsters
cards spoiled already too, right?
I don't know. I haven't looked at them. I bet there is.
There are. There's
want
about
it
50
to be
cards
a secret because I feel like that set is gonna feel very similar to me that Lord of the Rings did.
Yeah,
not quite as like it fits in Magic, like, but honestly, not so far away, right? With Kamigawa and the Warhammer sets, like we're getting sort of this like future
cyberpunky,
yeah, but like post-apocalypse now, which will fit with more like New Capenna and Thunder Junction vibes too. So I think it's going to be cool.
I think that's cool. Well, I think we can just sort of rattle off the rest.
Yeah.
Because we gotta.
Yeah, we can rattle on the rest.
We're running over time now.
That's fine.
We've been chatting for so long.
Chop it up. After that, people are excited for Modern Horizons 3, which is not a surprise.
Yeah.
10%, and then at 9%, Duskmourn, House of Horror, and I can't believe it's that low, but that's my vote. It's so cool.
Yeah, the few art pieces that I've seen have been like looking crazy.
It's like a liminal space. It's like, think Backrooms, if you know what that is, where it's just like a never-ending haunted house, hotel-esque, like every turn, there's like monsters inside of it. You can never escape the house. There's no real outside.
The entire set takes place within its eerie walls.
Yeah.
Within the walls of one giant haunted mansion.
Right.
What?
Yeah. So and you can't leave. Like there is nothing outside. That is the plane. Is the inside. It's like I'm so stoked for this. The aesthetic is so cool, and I know it maybe seems similar to we're getting Karlov Manor as well. Murders at Karlov Manor, which is like a murder mystery that takes place in Ravnica.
Also kind of in a mansion.
Yeah. But that's not the same vibe. That is like murder mystery, like sort of cheeky, fun Clue story. And this is like, no. My wife said she's got a book YouTube. She's part of BookTube. She says it's akin to like, it reminded her of something like from House of Leaves.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I remember that book. I do. I remember when everyone in my friend group was reading it at a certain point. Everyone was obsessed with it.
And then nobody seems that excited for Assassin's Creed, which I'm not excited for it. I think I'll know, again, a little gamer over here, but it's like Assassin's Creed is like the real world, but with a fake Assassins organization.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, I know there's some like virtual VR stuff, like reliving your past life, like science fiction aspect to the story, but like aesthetic wise for cards, it's like, yeah, what if Rome, but these guys had knives? So I'm super curious. And look, I haven't played past the Black Flag, so I don't know where that series went, and like all the fans of those games, like what an entire set of. Is it going to go through all of them? Is it going to just focus on Ezio's story? Is it going to just like the broad? Like, is it just like, oh, this card's from
I don't know. I am not. Again, this is where my weaknesses are coming out because I have no idea. So you're talking to the wrong person. I just know that it's kind of sneaky. There's probably gonna be lots of rogues.
Do you think they'll be called
Probably.
rogues, or do you think they'll be like a new type? Do you think there will be like an assassin specific type that's made for?
Ooh, that might be cool though. That might be cool.
Like subtype specifically.
A Hitman subtype would be cool.
Hitman, the franchise, would also be a cool universe beyond.
Hitman.
That's a video game.
Wait, I need to play more video games or just learn about this stuff.
That's okay. Well, when
it comes out,
when it comes out, when we do that podcast episode, I'm sure you have been well researched for going into the podcast.
I'll have played Breath of the Wild already.
Yeah, and that will help you with Assassin's
video game
Creed.
expert. Yeah. But okay, cool. Well, that is a great little poll of the week. Thanks for compiling all those stats, baby. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Now let's move on to the last segment of the day.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go into our patron question of the day. So for those of you who don't know, this is a segment of the podcast where if you're a patron at our $3 tier, you get added to a channel in the Discord that's just the patrons, and you can, $3 and above. So you get this if you pay for our other tiers as well. You get to ask us questions that we answer on the podcast. And it's great, and a really great way to sort of try and stump us or catch us off guard or get to know us a little bit more and get to know our opinions. So this week's question is asked by Jacuzzi/Jake. So thank you, dude. We appreciate your support so much. You're the best. And he asks us, at the current status of Commander, what color or color pair is overpowered and underpowered? Think overpowered would be Simic, just because...
Yeah, I mean blue-green.
It's just,
it comes to my mind
nuts.
fast, but I don't know. There's been some good stuff lately. I mean, they've been really working hard to balance. I feel like it shows in the gameplay.
Overpowered, I would still say blue-green, just because of that sheer combination of card draw and ramp and value. Like, it just feels like, I remember when they printed Coma, Cosmos Serpent.
Yeah.
I was like, what? That is ridiculous. I remember just looking at that and being like, you've got to be kidding me. But I think in terms of like underpowered, I would have said red-white maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but
they've,
like you said, they've done a really good job of balancing that stuff out.
I think maybe mono black might be on the chopping block now.
That's a good one. So just because mono white's gotten a lot of support recently too.
And I feel like
a lot of cool commanders.
In response to pushing so much red and white identity, I feel like we've lost a little bit of black used to be board control, destruction and or deck graveyard. But that's also got green influence. But mono black itself, it's sort of like the using your life as value, I guess, is sort of. But again, that bleeds into red black, that bleeds into white black. So mono black is, I think, maybe doesn't have as much of its identity as it used to, and that might be the next.
That's valid.
That might be the next one to step up.
I'm thinking in terms of like commanders printed, I haven't seen like a sort of like very, very powerful or popular black-blue commander in a while.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to rack my brain and I can only come up with maybe like there's Runo Stromkirk from Innistrad. Like I'm not recalling
but black-blue
any
doesn't really need that much support, right? Zombies, you've got mill recursion, you've got...
Oh, true.
Right?
True. There's the zombie stuff.
There's not... I don't think there's need for black-blue in the format.
So maybe my answer is mono black too, because mono blue has also gotten some really cool stuff recently as well.
I think there's some identity that needs to be in these next few sets moving forward. Some stronger.
Yeah, some mono black options. I like that.
Going back to overpowered, was the question specifically pairings?
It was color or color pair, so it could be either.
Okay. Well, frankly. And I don't know how many options there are. There can always be more options. But when I'm playing at the table, I think you're right. I think Simic is. But I'm also like super, super salty to like red-blue players.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of those like really high-tech copying, blasting you with a billion sorceries over and over and over again. And then when you add green to that, so like green, red, blue.
Teamer?
Just in general as a color identity. So, I mean, for Commander, right?
Yeah.
I know it's not a pairing, but those 3 colors in conjunction to me, that's kind of like my big red flag at a table. Is like, okay, what are you doing here?
Interesting.
Are you just putting a bunch of really good green cards in a deck for mana base, blue cards for control, and red cards that you can copy over and over again?
Yeah.
And just trying to chain whatever you can in your hand. That to me is like, I don't. It's the same. That doesn't. It's overpowered in a way that I feel like Black has lost an identity because it's underpowered in some ways. Doesn't really have an identity past that. When I see those 3 colors together, not that each card that's designed isn't, but the colors themselves, it doesn't feel
when
like
you're building a deck, you tend to get the same sort of pile of cards. In that color combo. I understand that. Yeah. I still say Simic would be my pick.
Yeah. I mean,
for overpowered, and then mono black for underpowered. I think that's a good little range right there.
But the nice thing with Simic is that there's so many options now. I mean, for
sure, and you can build a Simic deck that's not.
I love the math deck
either.
from Strixhaven. I love the math magic.
Quandrix.
Yeah.
I love the there's one that got printed recently called Thanos the Toy Maker, who just cares about beasts and birds, and that's about it. I think we talked about it on the pod, actually.
I think we have talked about that card.
Oh yeah, because it was when you brought up Garrick's
companion?
whatever the hell. Yeah, Garrick's companion.
That was a long
because
time
it makes
ago.
just copies of beasts and birds, and that was really fun. It was a long time ago, but not really. It was like maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. But I think that's sort of all she wrote for the Patron questions. Jacuzzi, thanks, dude. Appreciate the question. And
if you guys want to support all the fun stuff we do here at the Jank Center, including the podcast, short form videos, the Discord, and our monthly giveaways, make sure to check out our Patreon. It's the main way you can support us. We've got 4 awesome tiers: a $1 tier that gets you an extra entry in the giveaways every single month in the Discord. At the $3 tier, you get an extra entry plus the ability to ask us questions that we answer live on the podcast. At the $10 tier, you get everything plus access to our monthly Patreon game nights. This is new, folks. This is very exciting and cool. Joining at this tier means you get added to an exclusive Discord channel where you get to jam games at least once a month with Cress and I, as well as the other patrons. Then, for our big spenders or people who really just want to support what we're doing here, we have the $25 tier. Supporting at this tier means that you get everything from the other tiers, plus shout outs at the beginning of every video / podcast, and the opportunity, if you're comfortable, to be a guest on our 5 Cards or Die series. If you don't have the funds to support through Patreon, though, never fear, because you can also join the Discord and be a part of that community completely for free. The EDH Jank Center Discord is a public Discord of a bunch of people that love budget, janky, and underutilized cards. That's about it. We talk about sets, spoilers, cards, budget brews, and anything and everything under the MTG sun. We also host monthly giveaways, as I mentioned before, of fun MTG product every single month. That's great. That's free of charge. You can join, participate in those. If you're a patron, though, you get an extra entry. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube, follow the Instagram and TikTok at the EDH Jank Center, and make sure to leave a 5-star review of this podcast on the listening platform of your choice. It really helps us a ton. Thank you so much for listening.
And if you haven't already checked out the last episode, which is our 5 Cards or Die, our first episode with Chuki, absolutely.
Yes, please do. Please do that.
We'll put that link on the video. But if you're listening on on an audio device, it should be the episode 4. So
correct.
Check that out. That was a lot of fun. You want more content like that? We want to see that. Those kinds of episodes get a lot of engagement.
Yeah, please do. We love interviewing people. So if we can make that happen more often, that would be so sick. And maybe we can get your favorite creator on eventually too. Ooh. Unless your favorite creator is us, in which case that's very nice and we love you.
And then maybe you could be on here via the Patreon.
That's true. That's also true. Oh my gosh, there's so many options. But anyways, I think that's time for us to GTFO, for lack of a better phrase.
Do you have anything to say? Anything that is your catchphrase
that is the catchphrase that I say every single time
at the end of the episode?
All right, well, that's us signing off. And remember, kiddos, there it is. The spirit of the format is the gathering.
Yeah.
Love you all. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.